Shop.
Under the consent agenda, we have the minutes of the regular meeting of May 14th and the special meetings of May 20th and 29th. The resolution that had to delinquent unpaid invoices to the tax roll, and another resolution that had to delinquent water and sewer accounts to the tax roll, and adding a $10 permit fee for an outdoor seating permit to our annual fee schedule. So those are the consent items. Information, we have Right Place newsletters, our communications, the community building development team minutes from of April, and then also comments from Brian to the council. Unfinished business. First is the agreement between the city and the Cedar Springs Museum of Historical Society. Had the city attorney draft an agreement. It's in your packet. Had it reviewed by a representative of the museum board, and they're in agreement with the contents of that. It would be a one-year term beginning on August 1st of this year. It would automatically renew each annually on August 1st unless either party provides a notice in advance of termination.
I read in there, and there's on it, there's no request, like some language in there that the museum would request it every year. I know that was always in the past. Any of these groups that wanted this, they would request it every year.
Well, we can have them come and make a formal request, but it's just the way it's written, it would automatically renew unless either party. Okay. You want it in there that they have to make the request?
I don't think it's a killer, but it'd be nice to have them come in and at least tell us what they've done and accomplished.
And that's part of it in there. That's a condition that they have to make a report.
Right.
It's in there. I'll get you the exact wording.
I read that over earlier.
Yeah.
And that's fine, and that's good. I like seeing that. So basically,
they have to provide financial disclosure to the city as reasonably necessary for legitimate governmental purposes.
True.
And then not less than annually provide to the city in the form satisfactory to the city a written report describing the principal undertakings, activities, and funding sources for the museum during the preceding year. Yeah. So we'll give an annual report. And that's a standard that I want to include in all of our agreements, that they have to come in and tell us how they're using
a facility,
the citizens' money.
This is nothing relevant to that. Here, about a month and a half ago, there was like a little party down in the park, and there were signs up around town, come to the park for a party. There was a bounce house and some other odds and ends in there. And they were hooked to the power to the museum. They were all plugged into the outside plug-ins. There was a bounce house. There was two big air inflated jobbies in the bounce house. And then there were signs up like here at each and at the intersection, and then over at 2nd Street in Muskegon, come to the party, admission 50 cents or something like that. Well, what was that?
I don't know. I wasn't aware of it.
Okay. But they were basically using the power of the museum.
Right.
Without their authorization, I don't think. Okay. Oh no. Come on.
So that's that agreement. The next is a motion to consider a proposal from the community building development team to trade property that they own on 158 Pine for property the city owns at 116 5th Street. My recommendation is that we make that trade and the reason being is that their values a little bit. Oh, excuse me, I got to get the right one. I'm sorry. There is a public purpose, which is one of the guiding principles of doing something like this. There's got to be a public purpose. Will the city get fair market value for its property? And are there any city charter, purchasing policies, or ordinance that speak to the conveyance of city property that must be followed? There is a public purpose, and I outlined it in the agenda report. There's a lot of advantages to the city that we can add it to our property that we have on Pine Street that gives us, something that we could sell and have someone build on, as opposed to the property on Fifth, which is really unbuildable. So there's a lot of reasons that we can deem it a public purpose. Plus, if we look at getting a fair market value according to the assessor, the true cash value for Pine Street is $8,663. True cash value of Fifth Street is $7,000. So actually, their property is a little bit more valuable than ours. And finally, there's really nothing absolutely on point about conveying property. There's no charter, purchasing policy, or city ordinances. Really, they're silent on the subject. But if you look at what's there, and if you work with the intent, we're following the intent, because the city charter, it says that in all sales or purchases in excess of $500, the sale or purchase shall be approved by the council, and formal sealed bid shall be obtained unless the council, by formal unanimous resolution of those present at the meeting, determines that no advantage to the city would result from competitive bidding. So you could make that motion, and you would be well within the charter, the intent of the charter as I read it. The purchasing policy says that the purchasing agent is authorized to sell supplies or equipment which has become unsuitable for city use by reason of obsolescence or other reasons, or may exchange the same for or trade in the same on used supplies or equipment. So, it's a trade. We're trading it on another piece of property. The point being is, while there's nothing exactly on point, I think we're following the intent of what we have on record. So I would recommend to the council that they trade the city property on Fifth to the Community Building Development Team and return to their property on Pine Street.
Just as a point of clarification, I noticed that it didn't say North or South Fifth Street. I'm assuming this is North Fifth Street because that's where the vacant land is.
Right.
Okay, it just didn't say that.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
You have to have lived on Fifth Street to appreciate that.
Yes.
When you've had things come to you and you're like, no, I'm sorry, that was not me. On Fifth Street.
Just real quick.
The next two or three actually deal again with the Community Building Development Team. They were here at the previous council meeting, asked for the city's permission to use city property to construct an amphitheater, a rain garden, wetlands, as well as a boardwalk. I think everybody understands where the property is that they're interested in, so I won't go through that description. When I talked to Kurt Navy, they view their primary project as being an amphitheater. Next would be the rain gardens and wetlands, and finally the boardwalk. So we have order. What the Community Building Development Team is looking for right now is tentative approval from the city that they allow their organization to construct the projects on city property, subject to the city's normal and customary processes. So we would treat them like anyone else. And some of the examples are agreements that would allow their representative to access our property, do free site work, whether it be surveying, boring, environmental, whatever it might be. It would be site plan review, going to the planning commission, inspection by the city or its agents, payment of fees, special land use requests, things of that nature. So basically, what I'm recommending to the council is that you give them tentative approval subject to the city's normal and customary processes that we would utilize for any similar request. Anybody else that wanted to construct something. So that would be my recommendation on all three of those projects. Are there any questions? And the next is the motion to approve the contract with Hometown Decoration and Display. We talked about that last year for the holiday decorations for a 3-year term in 2015, 16, and 17. Next is the FOIA, the new FOIA policy for the city. There was a new law enacted that it goes into effect July 1st. We've got everything that we need to comply with the new law that goes into effect. We've got all the forms, et cetera, et cetera. So recommending to council that they approve that. That was at a cost of $500 to the city. I met with representatives from the library. They were interested in a new FOIA policy, and basically what I agreed to is that we would split the cost. And they would be able to use ours as a template.
Did you talk to the folks at the school?
No, they haven't approached me. No.
Okay.
No, the library approached me about using our policy, so I had to take care of some ethical terms because there was a partner in the law firm that we used, in Jeff Sluggett's law firm, that was developing FOIA policies for libraries and was selling them, and that was offered to our library. So we talked with them, and he didn't have a problem with splitting the fee. So I wanted to get that ethical dilemma solved. So that was taken care of.
I'm guessing, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing the school would take in on it too. They're going to need, and everybody has to come into
Oh, I know.
compliance with the...
Yeah.
I'm not familiar.
I would hope that the school has something in place by this time.
They probably do.
Yeah. Next.
Yeah, well, lots of legal weird as far as that is.
Next is a motion to consider a proposed agreement between the City of Cedar Springs and the Red Flannel Festival. That was the work of the council's committee. I shared with council members some privileged and confidential information from the attorney. There was some legal considerations and other points he wanted you to consider. So I would suggest that council committee meet again to address those issues because we want a legally defensible agreement. And I think those the communications from the city attorney speaks for itself, and I would echo those same comments that he has in those correspondences. So that would be my recommendation to council is that you not approve anything tonight in its present form and then ask the committee to go back and try to resolve these legal issues. Next is another matter involving the Red Flannel Festival of the city. To consider a proposed trademark agreement between the city and the Red Flannel Festival. You have it in your packet. It's been reviewed by the city attorney. He's in agreement with it as it's written. He had one suggestion that we get something in writing that from the Red Flannel Festival, the city is interpreting, and this is just, it had to be wordsmith, but that the city is interpreting the agreement to mean that it has the express consent of the Red Flannel Festival to display the medallion, and that the cease and desist letter from the Red Flannel Festival does not apply in this case. So I broached that with Michelle. Their attorney said they don't think it's warranted. Ours does. It's going to be, whatever the council wants. the recommendation from the city attorney. But he's comfortable with the agreement, he would like this last step. So that's going to be council's decision. Next is a discussion regarding a welcome sign to be placed on the White Pine Trail. Rose, do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, I keep hearing about different organizations would be interested, and in my book, the sooner the better, that people are walking through Cedar Springs on the trail and they have no idea where they are. So if we could get at least something that says welcome to the city of Cedar Springs and go from there.
I talked with Rose because I know there is discussion with the DDA primarily, and to a certain degree, chamber, about putting up a wayfinding sign at the staging area that would be roughly, it would be a map with various locations in the city that would be identified, where someone that's coming to the staging area could look and say, whether it's a business, whether it's City Hall, whether it's whatever, and we would put on it. It would be a way to raise some funds for the DDA, that they could have what we have talked about as little maybe business card signs, little placards that we could put there for a price that would help maintain the sign going forward. And so my suggestion to Rose was, why doesn't the city work with the DDA chamber to put this together so no one organization is bearing the full cost? Work on it cooperative like the city's trying to do with Red Flannel and community development.
What I'm concerned about is by the time we get a sign up, it's going to be next year, the year after that, more meetings, more chit chat about it. Is it a possibility that we as a city and as a council can get a sign up that says, welcome to the city of Cedar Springs, and then go from there? If the DDA and the chamber and anybody else wants to elaborate on that, that would be great. Just my concern is that we'll be in meetings and discussions. Who knows how?
Well, if I can speak on that, we've got to have meetings, because if we just throw something up, we're going to end up in trouble.
Welcome to the city of Cedar Springs is going to cause trouble.
No, for one, you've got to get permission to put it by the White Pine Trail. If that is a state park property, you got to get
It's on
permission.
city property, period. We don't have to worry about that. The city would be a city center.
But the theory that I'm actually proposing is if we're going to have a welcome to Cedar Springs sign, put one up there at 18 Mile when you're coming in from the north, and do like a wayfaring sign there, be it we get permission to put it there. And another one coming in from the south just before 17 Mile. Because after you're already in the middle of Cedar Springs, you already know you're there. And now everybody comes to the staging area.
So can we put a timeline on this? Let's get it done in 12 months, 6 months?
Well, I'm planning on having it done less than 12 months.
You're going to have it done in 12 months?
Chamber?
I'm planning on having all the information presented. So whichever board decides doing it, whether it's PDA, whether it's chamber, or whether you just want the city to do it, if the city comes up with the extra money that we're not doing anything with, then the city can do it.
Okay. So if we can't come in agreement with everybody and their money and what they want to do, we can just have the city do, welcome to Cedar Springs, simple sign, say.
Yeah. But I think it'd be better to actually do the wayfaring signs instead of having a sign here, sign there, sign there, sign everywhere.
Yeah. And now we have, that's,
And the town manager would say, you never had too many signs.
we can always add
You can always
to
have more.
it. Would be nice if we kept at least one at some point.
As long as we move along on it, if you add that, then keep us abreast of what's going on, and we'll move from
That's
there.
one of my next projects I'm hitting on after this Renaissance fair is done.
All right, sounds good.
Next is the motion to accept the medallion from the Red Flannel Festival in honor of former Mayor Ronnie Burlington. And last is any business that the mayor has. Under new business, motion to waive council policy number 12 to act on a FOIA appeal at first consideration, and it's an appeal from Susan Kumrad. The information is in your packet. Next is a motion to again waive council policy number 12 to act on changing the legal status from MAVIS, which is the Michigan Mutual Aid Box Alarm System. It's going to just be a name change. The agreement doesn't change. Why? The reason we're asking for the waiver of the first consideration is that we're working on your someone else's contract.
This too is more of a housekeeping issue than anything.
That's all it is. It's just an change. It doesn't change anything material in the agreement. C is a motion to waive council policy number 12 to act on budget amendments at a first consideration. This is something that we normally do this time of year. Item D is a motion to waive council policy 12 again to act on a resolution, and this is something that we need to do. We have to have this resolution for our USDA project closing, and we didn't get the information until just very recently.
Sure.
So there's that one, and the next one is going to be another resolution from the USDA or for the USDA. One is, the first one is for the sewer, second is for the water.
That doesn't give the contractor an open checkbook for any expansions or enlargements.
Nope, it's just that it's a resolution that we're providing for the incurrence of indebtedness for the purpose of providing a portion of the cost of requiring construction, enlarging, improving, and or extending our water facility. So it's just one of the boxes that USDA has to check off. But the contract that's going through the signature process right now, this has nothing to do with it, other than the fact that this is a resolution that is basically going to be assuring the USDA that we're going to pay our money.
To every citizen you look at it, it could be enlarged for projects, so for
Yeah,
clarification.
that's fine. A motion to not exercise a right of first refusal and allow property located at 288 North Main to go to auction. I don't see that there's any reason the city would want to own that piece of property. Tom, can you bring that up real quick? Show you where it is.
What's the source on?
H&R Block.
That's what I thought.
It's a part of H&R Block. It's not the whole piece of property. It's the
Parking lot, basically.
parking lot and a portion of the building that coaches upon that. So,
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Buy a piece.
so I mean, I can't think of any reason the city would want to own that, so I'm recommending that we let it go to auction. Next is a discussion regarding improving city property at Maple and 2nd Streets for a future parking lot. This was added at the request of Councilwoman Holt.
Just want to start talking about it. Like you said, as the community grows, we're going to need more parking, not less. That seems like an ideal spot to look at for parking. I don't know what other people think.
I apologize, but mine just crashed. What was the address on that?
It's at the corner of Maple and 2nd. It's a vacant lot.
Yeah, there was originally the Foundry's parking lot. There was a house there that was moved out south of town. It's a vacant lot, and it was acquired the same time the Foundry property was.
Okay.
It's a grass strip. At one time they looked at it for a skate park, which never materialized.
Yeah.
Oh, I
And it's
remember.
right behind the brewery, so it would make an ideal parking for it.
And the renderings that I've seen that show the library and different things, they did show that as a parking lot. And we, internally, we've talked about it. Tom got some very preliminary numbers. Before this topic came up, we've been talking about could we fit it into the budget to do something like that. And we just couldn't make it fit in this year's budget.
It's in the master plan, so.
Right.
Was there a price range on that?
Wasn't it a minimum of 60,000 or something along those lines?
Yeah, it's right now it'd be like 72,000.
It's about $72,000 to do that. The next is a discussion regarding Main Street traffic again added at the request of Council Member Powell.
Carrie and I talked about this, and we had an average of 10,000 going in one direction, so we're figuring about 20,000 on an average day going down Main Street on a weekday. So I don't know what we can do, and Mr. Manager, you mentioned something about asking the engineers to look at it.
We've had them, we've broached that subject with them, and it would be about a $3,000 cost to do a study, a traffic study, and they basically said, don't waste your money.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there anything you can do down through there, social that traffic down there?
I don't know, I don't know what it would be.
Speed bumps, potholes.
Potholes?
Oh, my.
I feel like that's definitely a budget neutral.
That is true, it is probably budget neutral.
Because the thing is there's not an accident history there. We've looked at that. There's very few accidents on Main Street in the downtown area. We did the speeds monitoring, and there wasn't any speed issues.
Just volume, or just 20,000 cars.
That's a good problem for businesses.
It is.
I mean,
Right place
Well,
to be.
when we was at that summit meeting, that 4-lane down there on 28th Street, we was less than a third under what their 4-lane was for a 2-lane.
you're a popular place.
We took over the record on 17 Mile Road from, I think, Rockford, England, after 10 miles. Growing, that's a good thing.
Finally, the discussion on a report from the Friends of Skinner Field. Again, this is added at the request of Councilman Powell. Did you have
We're
anything?
discuss it, haven't written a report.
Well, as I said that to Councilman Member Powell, that the agreement that we have with Skinner Field requires an annual report, so that would be in September, that they would have to provide an annual report.
I thought at some point, and maybe I just misunderstood, that we had like a verbal agreement with Sean to make a report quarterly or whenever we asked for one or something. That seemed like it, but I could be wrong.
And I talked to Sean today. I was talking to him about something else, and that came up. But I don't think he has a problem with doing something like that. I'm concerned when you first asked to put this on, it was only, it would have been trying to put something together in 2 days to get it in the packet, which I thought was an unreasonable request, and that's why I suggested maybe we look at September at the annual report, and at that time, if council would like something more frequent, we could probably visit it then.
We'll talk about it then.
Yeah, definitely.
It is a new endeavor. I am just anxious to know how he's doing. I mean, that was a big bite to take off.
Right.
I'm like, is it working out okay for him? And how, just how's it going?
Well, from what I understand, things are going better for him than what some people had hoped. Well, there were a few people that threw fences at him, so he's doing pretty good.
Good. I hope so.
Yeah.
That's a historic, important part of our community.
Right.
Having been on the school board, I can tell you that was a thing that Jerry remembers.
Well, from what I've talked with, a few of the different members on that board, not just Sean, their idea is to get the whole thing redone.
Right.
Before their term is up. That way, if it goes somewhere else, at least it's done.
Sure.
Because there hasn't been much money put into that.
There
for
hasn't.
years.
Yeah.
No.
So,
Just a couple of things. I didn't have a written manager report because there really wasn't a lot to report out. The USDA project, it appears that we're going to close on the 24th of this month. That's pretty well finalized. And right now, we're looking at starting the project July 20th. we're going to have an open house on the 8th of July, and we'll have the contractor here, the engineers, Tom will be here,
Woohoo!
and people can come in and get an idea of what the project entails, the
Sounds like
scope
a
of it,
party.
and, ask any questions. And then we're going to get information out on the website, do an article in the post.
Nothing as exciting as sewers.
So, well, it's going to be, especially when we talk about the reconstruction, Tom and I
I
aren't
know.
really worried about the lining, and that's really not going to create any problems, but we're mostly concerned about the reconstruction in the residential areas, that they understand what's taking place when,
Sure.
where to go for problems, those kind of things. So we want to make sure that we have good lines of communication with those residents. Just a reminder to council that if you haven't already done so, please give me your
Oh, shoot.
evaluations from the
Right.
Open Meetings Act and parliamentary
I need
training.
to do that. Sorry.
Just this week, or tail end of last week, we got an agreement from the consultant for the fire study that's being signed. I think, did you get those signed, Ms. Marianne, or did you get them for tonight?
No, I never pulled back this stuff.
Right. So we'll get those signed and get it back to the consultant. Sullivan Township's already signed. I talked with the consultant early this week. He just wanted to reaffirm that we're still interested in doing the study, talk about some details, and he's looking to begin sometime in mid-July. One of his principals that's going to be working on it, besides him, is going to be a retired fire chief. He might still be doing some of that on a part-time basis, but he heads up the fire science program at Lansing Community College. He's got a lot of hands-on experience and theoretical experience. And finally, I'm going to be taking vacation in July, 11th through the 18th, and as always, I'll be available by cell or email.
Are you doing something super fabulous?
We're going to do what's becoming probably the 20th annual extended Taylor family vacation.
That
for a
sounds
week.
pretty fabulous.
We go to different places, right in Lake Wheel and all, and what's a couple of nice things about it, we get there on a Saturday, we all like each other, and when we leave the next Saturday, we still like each other. And we're getting my kids and my nieces and nephews that are in their late 20s, early 30s that still come. So it's neat. Nothing special, but just a lot of good family stuff.
I'll be on vacation that week too.
Any news on the motel?
We're working on some meetings later this month, putting that together.
And anything on the roads plan? The mayor, I think,
We had some,
work up on what roads we were going to try to pitch a.
Yeah, Tom and I have talked about, we've got the Pazer ratings.
Okay.
We've got that, we're working to, go through it with the engineer, decide where we want to go, where our money would be spent wisely. So we've talked about that. I know the mayor came in and asked about some kind of a workshop, which was already on our radar to do later, this late summer, early fall.
Well, if we're going to ask for a millage, we got to be able to go pitch it before November.
we needed to know too, what this construction project is gonna fix, where we want.
Like, I need, if we're going to go to the Rotary and the Lions and the whatever and say, okay, we'd like to get support, we need to be able to say, like, here's the road, here's the millage.
That's what's going to be identified in the workshop, because we're going to need council's input as to where you want to start.
Okay.
Here's what we think are the worst roads based on the Pazer rating, what makes the most sense
Okay.
to identify first, where are we going to get the most money or most bang for our buck is what we're looking at.
Okay.
So, I don't know that we can get it around for November, because what's the deadline for getting language on the ballot?
October.
August
That's
or
tight.
November. But we've got, we've got opportunities after the first of the year for more ballot questions.
Oh, is there going to be another before
Election.
August? Before the primary in August?
I don't know if there is or not.
Okay.
Okay.
So then, if we don't do it this November, it's the next November.
Unless there's a special meeting or a special election.
On another item, is it possible that you and or Tom could explain what happened to everybody about the water closing? And I think some of the members of the council are interested in a procedure, maybe it's already out there, I don't know, that we get a heads up so that when people call us if there are issues or when their neighborhood is shut down, that we have some kind of an answer about what's going on.
Well, I can address some of them, Tom can fill in. And first of all, I would suggest the council, if you have those concerns, you have to wait for a council meeting, we get those taken care of anytime. But first of all, we were shutting down the water to make a connection for Cedar Springs Brewing Company. We were going to shut down between Main and Second, and there was only one affected property, that was the fire department, and Marty was notified. We tried to shut it down. The valves, as old as they are, didn't work effectively at that intersection. We had to back up one more intersection. It wasn't intended. Normal practice is if we're going to shut down, we let people know. We didn't know. Because they looked at the maps on where we needed to shut it off and went there, and the valves weren't working properly. They wouldn't get a total shut off, so they had to back up. And we got complaints of water being off in areas that it made no sense to them. Tom and Al double and triple checked the valves. There was water should have been feeding from all different directions, and it was very sporadic. And Tom and Al's been here forever, knows the maps, knows how to do those things, and they still can't explain why it was so sporadic. So we couldn't have notified anybody because we would, in those areas that were received some interruption in water supply, we would have never notified them because we would have never felt that they would have been affected based on the maps and the way the water distribution system is.
That would be a common problem, though, for us to face each time, that something might not
I
function.
don't know that that's happened that often, has it, Ron?
No.
Well, I'm not even saying that we should anticipate it, but if it does happen, is there some way that, first of all, we get informed as council people that the water's going to be turned off? Now, I didn't care about Marty. I really do, Marty. But, in this case, we have email, we have phones, we could have been notified as council people. It didn't work. Now we're shutting off X number of houses, and we would be aware of what was going on.
Yeah, it's just helpful when people, I got home from school that day, and I had people who were like, my water was shut off, and I'm like, it was?
Right.
I'm sorry, I have no idea water was being shut off.
City Hall.
Oh, I'm sure you know. But that's not a feasible suggestion that we get an email out?
No, I didn't say that.
No, I know, but we didn't.
If that's the council's wishes, that if you want to know about every shut-off, we can do that.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a good idea.
Not a big issue. I didn't know there was that kind of interest.
It was a thing for lots of us. People contacted us.
That's You all mentioned the context. water being
Yeah.
simply shut off.
I don't know if that, and that could be just the disruption of the system. We've got,
Mine's still just water, yellow water coming out.
Tom?
The groundwater is what it's called. It's iron in the water. It doesn't hurt anybody or anything. It just looks bad. And that's because the system was disrupted.
Is that our cast iron pipes?
Don't take, no, you don't have to take your iron pill with you.
No more answers. So is there not a procedure after we shut the water off, and there might be disturbances in the water, to let people in the areas know? Or do we just wait for them to call in? And that may be the easiest thing.
Well, and we don't know, in this particular instance, we don't know who all's affected.
We could put out a citywide
some kind of announcement, something in the paper or something?
I mean, we could.
On our website,
On the email, that, I mean,
Came out.
website, yeah.
6 days later.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with these newspapers. By
Yeah.
that time, it's probably over and done with.
But if we knew ahead of time that we were gonna shut it off, then we could have put it in the month before that there was gonna be water shut off, and there might be the disruptions that follow.
And we routinely do that when we know it's going to affect certain areas. In this case, our mindset was, based on the water distribution, we're going to affect Marty, who you didn't care about anyhow, so. So
Fires don't care if the water's up.
that was the only one we were able to give prior notice, because that's the only one we felt was going to be affected.
it would have been a problem for his steam fire truck.
Yeah. But no, I don't have a problem in letting the county know. And normal practice is if we're going to shut off in an area, a residential area, and it's not just one place, they're notified.
Even in defense of everyone here, I can remember one time, one of past counselors was upset, and she wanted to know what was going on. And that was several years ago. There was, you know, it's who do you call first? That's kind of the problem. It happens. Well, I figure now that an email to everybody real
an
fast
email.
is
And
nothing.
we don't even have to be first.
No.
If we just, I
Get into
had to find out from other people,
Yeah. No, it's a little embarrassing.
which is a little embarrassing.
Makes us feel a little incompetent. No, it won't hurt you. Yes, sir.
Just toss something to Mr. Clark to chew on. If I have a fire up there on his street, on a CTA, and address that hydrant, would he like prior notice? Seems I don't matter anyway.
Just get there, Marty.
I understand your concern, Dan, because I've had it when different things, we've used different hydrants for
Oh, yes.
fires and stuff, and it does screw up the system, and it's part of living in a city with hydrants. You're gonna get you talk about rusty water, you come on the station, I'll show you some rusty water. And,
And by the way, I just read an article about a place where there was a fire and it hooked up to the fire hydrants and there was no water.
them were privately owned hydrants that they had addressed about a year ago for maintenance and never got them turned back on.
Anyway, I just wanted to say again, I had one of those moments where I thought, oh, what a wonderful place we live. That can't happen here. So,
For the wagons.
made me very happy. Not that they said that we don't.
May I ask, council, consider putting on the agenda? We had a corner for sidewalk sales that Sean was supposed to get turned in on oversight. We didn't get it turned in time to get on the agenda.
Oversight.
Basically, it's just asking if we're doing this community event, we had sidewalk sales and use the park, doing a movie in the park.
But is the last manager review part supposed to be filled out, or?
You know, I filled it out on my copy.
Oh, okay,
we can-
because it's not on ours.
So, there's, I don't see an issue unless somebody else does, so.
So we need to amend the agenda to add it.
Yes. We can do that once we get rolling.
So we need it as a motion. What would it need to be? It would be
The approval of the agenda, we would need a
We had it.
motion for that.
right. That's, I was going back to look at the agenda to say it would need to be added as like item
New business.
E, F, J,
And also
with a motion to policy 12.
Add it, yeah. It'll be him.
All right, would it be under
Okay.
J, right?
Yes.
Okay.